Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Wednesday night class here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Sorry for the technical delays. We started about 10 minutes late. We are starting about 10 minutes late. So I will start with Mangalacharan prayers, and then we will sing a short bhajan, and then we'll start with the discourse. Okay. Om Ajnantimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakhaya Chakshurmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Utapadakam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Svajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpadrubhyascha Krupa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pungam lingayate grimi yat kripatam vande Shri Gurum Dinatarunam. Om Ajnantimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnudaya Krishna Vishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhagavate Namo Vishnudaya Krishna Vishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamite Namaste Saraswati Devi Om Acharine Vishesha Vishnu Devasya Devashatarine. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for again joining for tonight's Wednesday evening discourse at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. So we'll start with Jai Radha Madhava, and then we'll continue with our discourse for tonight. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today I'm going to talk from chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, from verse 24 till about verse 29. These verses talk about the principle of the sacrifice and the types of sacrifices. So just to give the context of this, chapter 4 is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. This is still talking about the Bhagavad Gita. And starting of this chapter, Lord Krishna says that this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge, I spoke this to the Vivaswan, the sun god, and he in turn spoke it to Manu, and Manu in turn spoke it to Ikshvaku. And this knowledge has been coming through parampara system. He says, Imam Vivashrute Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivashwan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravid. So this knowledge has been coming through the parampara system. But, this knowledge has been lost. And now, because you are my friend, O son of Kunti, and you are my devotee, I am going to give this knowledge to you. And then Arjuna says that, how do I understand? Because Vivaswan was very old and you are, you are very young. And how do I understand that you spoke to him? And so Krishna starts speaking that, he gives, he talks about the principle, the nature of his appearance in this material world, and he talks about why when he comes, like yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuta nama dharmasya, And then he talks about paritranam sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam. He said, why I come, when I come and why I come. He comes to protect the devotees, annihilate the miscreants, and establish the religious principles of religion. And then he says that whoever understands, janma karma chame divyam yo evam vo veti tatvataha tyakta deham punarjanma naiti itimam so Arjuna. So he says that whoever understands my transcendental appearance and the activities upon giving birth, upon giving this body, he does not come back to this material world again. And he says then that many devotees in the past have understood this knowledge, and they got liberated. And so Arjuna, you also should follow their path. And then Arjuna says that if I have to follow, then what kind of actions that I need to do, and what do I need to do? And then Krishna talks about karma, akarma, and vikarma. Karma is doing the prescribed duties. Akarma is doing your karma, but without detachment. You are doing karma, but it is as if you are not doing karma at all. So that is akarma. Vikarma is doing karma which is not prescribed. About these three types of karma, and then he keeps talking about the qualities of the person who is practicing this karma yoga. And then in 4:23 he says gata sangasya muktasya gnanavasti cha chesasa yagnacharata karma samagram praviliyate. He says that those who were free from the modes of material nature, and they act in accordance of the knowledge, and they do activities only for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Yagna acharata karma. Such a person gets liberated. Samagram praviliyate. He gets liberated, or he merges into transcendence. So here Krishna talks about yagna. So yagna means sacrifice. Yagna also mean the bestower of the results of their sacrifice. That is the Supreme Lord himself. Yagna can also mean any activities that is intended to get the desired results. So now from 4:24 to 4:29, Krishna talks about in 4:24 he talks about the principle of yagna, and then from 4:25 to 29 he talks about the different types of sacrifice. So this is the subject matter for today's class. So we're going to talk about the principle of the sacrifice, which is 4:24, and then we're going to elaborate on that verse, and then we talk about the different types of sacrifices. So let me share my screen. Oh. Sorry for the interruption. I just had a new laptop today. Okay. Oh. If I quit and join again, can I share the screen? Okay. Okay, let me try to rejoin. Okay, hopefully it works. Oh no, meeting. Assign a new host. Okay, I'm going to assign for now. There is one devotee called Ketaki Vaidya. So I'm going to assign to that and leave, and I'll join back in a second. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, I am back. Okay, let me try to share now. Hopefully this time it works. Host has disabled the participant screen sharing. Okay. So Mataji, if Ketaki, Mataji, if you are there, can you make me a host? Okay, let me. Share screen. Was disable the screen sharing. Okay. Can you check with? Okay. Yeah. Why don't you check with Ramananda Sakaprabhu? In the meanwhile, I will just start. Okay. Okay. So 424, the verse is Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahmagno, Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhinaha. Translation: a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. How activities purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. How activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and all of them will be described in the following verses. But for the present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul entangled in material contamination is sure to act in this material atmosphere, and yet he has to get out of such an environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. For example, a patient who is suffering from disorder of the bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curds. The materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness. Okay, looks like I am back as a host. So let me try to share the screen. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, sorry for that interruption. And for example, a patient who is suffering from a disorder of the bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curds. The materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth herein in the Gita. This process is generally known as yajna or activities, sacrifices simply meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu. The more the activities of the material world are performed in Krishna consciousness, or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. The word Brahma, Brahman means spiritual. The Lord is spiritual, and the rays of his transcendental body are called Brahma Jyoti. His spiritual effulgence, everything that exists is situated in that Brahma Jyoti. But when Jyoti is covered by illusion, Maya, or sense gratification, it is called material. This material wheel can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or the contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor, and the result are all combined together, Brahman or the absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter detailed for the cause of the absolute truth regains its spiritual quality. Let me read that line again. The matter detailed for the cause of absolute truth regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or the Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yagna or sacrifice for the absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer or the leader of the performance, and the result or ultimate gain, everything becomes one in the absolute, the Supreme Brahman. That is the method of Krishna consciousness. So this is a very important verse here, which actually talks about the principle of the sacrifice. What is sacrifice? As we said, now sacrifice can mean the fire sacrifice. Generally, when we say sacrifice, generally we intend that it is a fire sacrifice. But sacrifice can also mean the activities that one does to get a desired result. So that is also a sacrifice. Now here, what Krishna is saying is Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir. Brahma Arpanam means the obligation, the ingredients or the oblations that we offer into the fire sacrifice is Brahma. He's saying that is Brahma, means that is spiritual. Here, Brahma is referring to spiritual. Depending on the context, again, Brahma can mean the Lord Brahma. It can also mean Atma. It can also mean Parabrahman. It can also mean Brahma Jyoti. But here, as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, that Brahma here means spiritual. So Brahma Arpanam means the oblations that you offer into the sacrifice is spiritual. Brahma Havir means the butter, and also it can mean the instruments that are used to perform this yagna is also spiritual. It is also Brahma. Brahmagno, the fire where we are offering the oblations is also spiritual. It's also Brahma. Brahmana Hutam, whoever is performing that sacrifice is also spiritual. So if one is doing performing yagna like this, then what is the destination? So Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. So when they perform in this way, the destination is also Brahman, is also spiritual, because the performer is doing this with samadhina. In that samadhi, in full consciousness of Brahman, he is doing this sacrifice. Brahma karma samadhina. So Brahma arpanam, Brahma havir, Brahma agno, Brahmana hutam, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. So Krishna, so everything material or spiritual, everything is the energy of the Supreme Lord. So it is compared. Prabhupada gives this example in many places of sun and the sunshine. The sun is situated in one place, and the sunshine, but it is spreading the sunshine all throughout the universe. Now, the sunshine is the energy of the sun. So in that way, there is no difference between the sunshine and the sun. Whenever there is sunshine, it means that there is also the sun. It does not mean that the sun is getting divided and is being spread as the sunshine, and there is no, eventually the sun will not be there. Prabhupada says that this is the Mayavad philosophy, that once Krishna or the Supreme Lord spreads as Brahman, then he will no longer exist. He will cease to exist. So that is the wrong philosophy. He also Prabhupada also gives example of fire, and again the illumination and the smoke. These are different energies of fire. If there is a smoke, we can an intelligent person can say that, okay, there is a fire. That's why the smoke is there. And when there is a illumination around, it can also mean that there is a fire. So without fire, there is no existence of this illumination and the smoke, and also the sunshine when we compare it to the sun. So the basis of all the existence is the Supreme Lord. And so all of these are the energies of Supreme Lord. Krishna says, he says in the 9th chapter, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetu nanena kaunteya jakatu viparivartate. This energy, this material world is my energy, and it is working under my direction, and is producing all kinds of moving and non-moving entities. So this is so all what we see, all is because of the existence. It is the source is the Supreme Lord. So in also Sri Ishopanishad, it is said, Om Brahma Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam means the Supreme Lord is complete and perfect. Even if there are so many complete wholes are being produced by this Supreme Complete, the Supreme Complete remains as a complete. So, though Krishna is spreading all these energies, it doesn't mean that something is getting, Krishna presence is getting reduced, or the Supreme, the personal feature is getting reduced. So that is not correct. Right, so in as it's been said in the Ishopanishad, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Even though many holes, complete holes are coming out of the Supreme Lord, he remains as a complete whole. So that is so everything is the energy of the Supreme Lord. Now one may ask, now how do we understand if everything is Brahma, then what is Krishna saying here? So Krishna is saying that, of course, everything is Brahman, but one has to realize that Brahman. One has to realize the Supreme Lord through different activities. So that is the principle that Krishna is talking here. So Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahmagno Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhinaha. So if you see now, this all the living entities are in this material world. They are surrounded by all the material objects. And now he has to come out of this material world. How is it possible? This looks like to be a very impossible process, because he is bombarded with all kinds of sensory objects in this material world. He himself, his body is material. Now, being in this material world, how can he come out of this material world? Now, that is a big question. Srila Prabhupada speaks in one of the purports later in this same chapter. He says, but there is one loophole. And what is that loophole? The human birth. Only in the human birth, one can come out of this material world. If you are a animal, any animal, it is not possible. Although if it is, although by mercy of the Supreme Lord, it can, the Supreme Lord can deliver even the animals. But generally speaking, it is difficult. It's nearly impossible for anyone to come out of this material world. So the only, the human beings can come out of this material world. So so Krishna talks now how the same materials, that if you engage the same material elements, one will get attached to this material world and be in this material world perpetually. So he keeps on doing activities, and he will enjoy the results of these activities, and then he will get entangled. Now, the same activities, one can do the same activities, but that activities can also liberate. Now, we will see what kind of these activities are these. One can, how is that he's doing the same activities. For example, if one is doing the work in this Bay Area, he is, a software engineer or any profession. He's doing his work and he's getting his results of his work in form of salary, and he's using that to maintain his family and for enjoying, right? Now, the same person doing the same kind of activity, how can that activity can lead one to come out of this material entanglement? So here Prabhupada gives the example of the milk product. He is a person can is suffering from the bowel disorder because of overindulgence in the milk products, but the same milk in the form of curd can cure his problem. Now, that process here is, Prabhupada mentions, is Krishna consciousness. Now, Krishna, when he created this world, he has given the Vedas, as we see in the 3rd chapter, and all the methods or all the different types of activities one can do to elevate oneself to the platform of self-realization. Because not everyone is on the same platform. Not everyone can practice the devotional service. So he has given different kinds of yajna, different kinds of sacrifices is prescribed for different kind of people. Now, using this sacrifice, using these sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Lord, or according to the the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, if one does that, he will actually be self-realized and he will get liberated. He will reach to Brahman. So that is the main principle that Krishna is talking here. Now, the process of purifying these material elements or one's consciousness is through sacrifice, and the supreme and the most recommended, or the ultimate sacrifice is the Krishna consciousness, the sacrifice of performing the devotional service. Here, Prabhupada says, the absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter detailed for the cause of absolute truth regains its spiritual quality. So when one is offering that ingredients, which is all material, the ghee, the butter, the grains into the fire, although they are material, when it is offered for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord, it becomes spiritual. The ingredients, the instruments that is being used, the spoons, the ladders, they become spiritual. The fire where we are doing this, offering all these ingredients, that is spiritual. The person who is performing also becomes spiritual. Thus, one who is engaged in that consciousness, that spiritual consciousness, and performing this sacrifice will attain the supreme destination. So that is the principle that is being described in this verse. Now, if you then why he is saying this to Krishna? Why Krishna is saying this to Arjuna? Now, is it saying that Arjuna, you should perform fire sacrifice? Certainly not. Certainly not. So this is the principle. What it means to Arjuna is that his battlefield is his sacrificial arena. His bow, his Gandiva bow and the arrow are his instruments being offered, used in this sacrifice. And what are the oblations? In 10th chapter, Krishna reveals his universal form to Arjuna, and Arjuna sees all the sons of Dhritarashtra, all the kings, they are running into the mouth of this universal Lord, and they are getting killed, they are getting smashed within the teeth. So that is the oblations, and who are we offering this? Onto the universal form. So that is the sacrifice that Arjuna is doing. Now, practically in Vedic times, the disciples of the spiritual master, they go out and perform. They collect wood for the fire sacrifice. So they bring the wood and they give it, offer it to their spiritual master, and the spiritual master will use that wood in the fire sacrifice. Now, here, here in ISV and all throughout the world in ISKCON, we distribute books. And Vaisheshika Prabhu gave this analogy. He compared this yajna of distributing books to the fire sacrifice. Books are nothing but they are paper, and the paper is made of wood. So similarly, this disciples and all the devotees are distributing these books in the fire of book distribution. So this is also yajna. Now, when we give this book to someone, we ask for a donation. And the person who takes the book, he gives some donation. So he is also doing some sacrifices. He is offering his money, hard-earned money, into this yajna of book distribution. And also, when someone gives the donation for the spiritual cause, it opens up his heart, and his heart gets open, and he will become conducive to receive the knowledge through parampara system. So one is he's giving his hard-earned money, but he is also getting that a benediction that he will receive the spiritual knowledge through parampara system. So so this is a very important verse, and also very practical for us to understand how we can use. If someone is working in today's situation, how can his work be transcendental or can be spiritualized? He can offer his money, some part of his earnings, to spread of the Sankirtan movement, or can give for the maintenance of the temple, or for any cause that is used for serving the Supreme Lord and the devotees. Once we perform that, then that activity, what he is doing, will become spiritualized, and the results that he gets from doing this activity can purify his consciousness. And similarly, when we offer, when we make, cook some food, we offer it to Lord Krishna, and and that becomes prasad. It is no different than Krishna. So rather than just without offering, if one takes that food, that is material and that incurs sin. And the other thing is the same food, what you make, but you offer it to Krishna, and then that becomes spiritualized. And when and we honor that, devotees honor that with very great reverence and respect, because it is nothing than Krishna. So in that sense, everything is everything is Krishna. And as it is difficult for everyone to come to the platform of Krishna, a platform of the devotees, to understand, to realize the Supreme Lord. One can realize Krishna through a different through a universal form, like the Supreme Krishna says in later in chapter 10, he said, Rasoham api sukaunteya. Rasoham apasu kaunteya. I am the taste of the water. Now, when anyone drinks the water and he remembers Krishna, and he thinks that, oh, Krishna is the taste of water, and thus he can, realize Krishna in that way and eventually come to the platform of bhakti. So one has to, whatever state they are in, whatever activities that they do, those can be made as an offering to Krishna, and that can eventually purify oneself. So we will now see the different kinds of sacrifices that is mentioned here. The next verse, 425. Daivam eva pare yagnam yogina paryupasate Brahmagnav apare yagnam yagnaivopachuhati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some others sacrifices in the fire of Supreme Brahman. So here, Krishna is talking about the sacrifices done by the demigods and also the sacrifice done by the Gnani yogis. Now here Krishna is saying, Daivam eva pare yagnam yogina paryupasate. Daivam, in worshipping the demigods, someone does the yagna by worshipping the demigods, and some others yogina paryupasate. Some other yogis, some other people like yogis, they worship the absolute truth. Brahmagnav apare yagnam yagnaivopachuhati. Now, where do they offer now this? The person, the yogis, they are offering. They are offering their identity in the fire of Brahman. This is, we will discuss in detail now what exactly Krishna is saying here. Now, when devotees, so there are two types of people he's talking about. This people who worship the demigods and the people who does the sacrifice for to merge into Brahman. So two types of devotees. One is the fruity workers, and the other is the Gnani yogis. Now, as we see, Krishna says in 9th chapter, he says, Epi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddha yanvitaha tepi mameva kaunteya yajanti avidi purvakam. He says here that those who are the devotees of other gods, who worship them with faith, actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in the wrong way. So the ultimate beneficiary, whoever is doing sacrifice to the demigods, who are worshipping the demigods, but the ultimate beneficiary is the Supreme Lord. But they are doing in wrong way. Now, a first class, here Prabhupada says, a first class, a first class yogi or a first class person who is discharging in duties in Krishna consciousness is called a perfect yogi. He is called a first class mystic. Now, one is offering their hard-earned money or performing the sacrifices for the worship of demigods to enjoy the results of that activity, and that is for his sense gratification. But there are other kinds of people like devotees who actually sacrifice their hard-earned money for the satisfaction of the Lord. So here Prabhupada says, all the different varieties of sacrifice can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifice of worldly positions and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material positions for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material positions to satisfy demigods such as Indra and Sun God, and others who are impersonalist Gnani yogis sacrifice their identity by merging into existence of impersonal Brahman. So the impersonalist, they sacrifice their identity itself and they merge into the Supreme Brahman. No, that is their sacrifice. So here, Prabhupada says that the people who are the fruitive workers, who are worshipping the demigods, they are Bhahu Ishwaravadis. They believe in many gods, but the others, and there are others who worship the impersonal feature of the absolute truth, and they merge in. Hare Krishna. Sorry for the interruption. I got disconnected. Let me just open up. Kanchan, I don't think I can share the screen now. Okay, I think I need to be host. I don't think I can share the screen now. Okay, so while that is sorted out, let's proceed with the presentation. Okay, so so we were talking about verse 25 in 4th chapter. So here Krishna was talking about the sacrifices done for the demigods and the sacrifices done by the Gnani yogis. So the fruity workers, they sacrifice, they do all kind, they sacrifice their personal assets or all their opulences in worshipping the demigods, and then the Gnani yogis, they sacrifice their intelligence in the pursuit of the knowledge, and then they sacrifice their identity itself and merge into Supreme Brahman. But the devotees, so devotees, they use all these their opulences, and they use for the satisfaction of Krishna. Okay, I think I'm that sorted out. Let me share my screen now. Okay. Okay. So now going on to verse 26. Shrotraadinindriyanyanne samyam agnishu juhati shabdadin vishayananya indriyagneshu juhati. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of senses. So here Krishna is talking about the sacrifices done by the brahmacharis and by the householders. He's saying, Shrotrat indriyan anne samyam agnishu juhati. The brahmacharis are sacrificing their hearing process. And also this also means the senses. So he is sacrificing their senses in the fire of sense control. So the sacrifice is the fire of the sense control. So he's sacrificing the oblations are the senses. So he is offering his senses in the fire of self-control. So that is the sacrifice that brahmachari is doing here. And then what are householders sacrificing? The householders are sacrificing the sense in the fire of senses. No, the human life, according to Vedic, it is divided into 4 divisions. Brahmacharya Ashram, Grihastha Ashram, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. In Brahmacharya Ashram, there is no provision for sense enjoyment. Only whatever is needed just to maintain themselves, it is permitted, but there is no provision for sense enjoyment. So here brahmacharis, what they do, they offer all the senses and they engage the senses towards inwards. That means they don't engage the senses for sense gratification. They use their senses for the satisfaction of Krishna, and so they offer their senses in the fire of sense control. Now, the sense enjoyment is permitted in Grihastha Ashram. Now, although the sense enjoyment is permitted in Grihastha Ashram, but it is not without any regular rules or regulation. It's not like unlimited. It's a restrained sense enjoyment. So Grihastha is also, he's sacrificing his tendency to do sense enjoyment in the fire of senses. So he is putting his sense objects into the fire of senses. So that is the sacrifice that Krishna is talking about here for Grihasthas. Now, in these 4 ashramas, Brahmachari Ashrama, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa Ashrama, they all are dependent on the Grihastha Ashrama. So Grihastha Ashram is very important ashram which sustains all other ashramas. So that's why grihasthas are generally, they are recommended. They are recommended to offer their opulences or their earnings to maintain all these ashramas. So, by earning his livelihood, he can do he can engage in some kind of sense enjoyment, provided that is following under the rules and regulations. But at the same time, he is also contributing to the other ashramas. So he is doing that kind of sacrifice here. And Krishna and Prabhupada here says that the brahmachari are engages always in Hare Namanu Kirtanam, always chanting and hearing. So that is the sacrifice that Krishna is talking here. So in the next verse is 427. Here Krishna talks about the sacrifices done by the dhyana yogis. So we have learned the sacrifices done by the people who worship the demigods. We have seen the sacrifices done by the gnani yogis, sacrifices done by the brahmacharis, sacrifices done by the householders. Here Krishna is talking about the sacrifices done by the dhyana yogis. Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyamya yogagnau juhati jnana deepite. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of life breath as oblations into the fire of controlled mind. So here Krishna is also again talking the control of mind and senses. But here he is also talking about controlling one's life breath and offering that life breath as oblations into the fire of controlled mind. So there are two things. He is the dhyana yogis, he is offering his senses, and also he is offering the life breath. So one has to this yoga system that Prabhupada describes here is called Patanjali yoga system, where one does this Ashtanga yoga. There are 8 limbs of this Ashtanga yoga: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, like that. So here, one has to practice all this yoga system in addition to controlling his mind and senses. So he's doing all these kinds of pranayama, or all kinds of the breathing exercises, or the controlling his life breath, and thus he controls his mind and senses. And that he is offering into the fire of self-control. So that is his sacrifice that the dhyana yogi is doing. So here Prabhupada introduces 2 terms, Pratyagatma and Paragatma. He says if the soul is attached to the sense and enjoyment, it is called Paragatma. But as soon as the same soul becomes detached from the sense enjoyment, it is called Pratyagatma. So Paragatma is the soul attached to the sense enjoyment. Pratyagatma is soul detached from the sense enjoyment. Okay, so we'll go little bit fast, I think. Yeah. So the next verse is 428. Dravya yagnas tapo yagna yoga yagnas tatapare Swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yataya samshita vrataha dravyayagnas tapo yagna yoga yagnas tata pare swadhyaya yagnascha yataya samshita vrataha. So here in this one verse, Krishna is talking different kinds of sacrifices. So the translation: having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities. By practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. So he is combining the different kinds of sacrifices all in this verse. He's saying dravya yagnas. Dravya yagnas means one who is sacrificing his possessions. Dravya means his possessions. Tapo yagna, one who is doing austerities. So he is enduring all kinds of austerities, and that is another type of sacrifice that that is mentioned here. Yoga yagnas, other type of sacrifices is the person who is doing different kinds of Ashtanga yoga. He is following the mystic yoga system. And then there are others. Swadhyaya yagna, the persons who are studying the Vedas to advance in the transcendental knowledge. So here Prabhupada says that, generally when you see people who have, their material positions, they're inclined to do some kind of service. They establish this Dharmashala, Annakshetra, Atitishala, Antalaya, and Vidyalaya. And here also we see, a lot of people, wealthy people, they want to, contribute to the society. So they offer their hard-earned money in this, in opening up the charities or to the charitable organizations. And similarly, in some people, they follow Chaturmasya. Here Prabhupada is saying Chandrayan, and some austerities such as Chandrayan and Chaturmasya. So they perform austerities for self-realization. And then similarly, people, some other people, they do the mystic yogas. They engage themselves in different kinds of mystic yogas, like Patanjali system or Hatha yoga or Ashtanga yoga. And some people, they sacrifice in studying in Vedas. They sacrifice themselves in pursuit of this Vedas. But the ultimate, all these type of sacrifices are not transcendental. They are the ultimate goal of all this sacrifice is Krishna consciousness. But they are it's not a direct process. It's an indirect process. It's a step-by-step process. It is the process for the people who cannot take to devotional service, who are attached to the particular type of activities, the people who wants to do charitable things, who want to do worship of the demigods, or the person or the intellect or the jnanis who want to realize the Supreme Lord through Brahman. So there are different categories of people, and different kinds of sacrifices are mentioned in the scriptures. But the ultimate goal of all the sacrifice is attaining the Supreme Lord. The Krishna consciousness is the supreme, is the ultimate destination. So one can go through this process, but the process of direct worship onto the Supreme Lord is recommended. That is what Krishna is. That is what Prabhupada is also mentioning here. See, the Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by any one of the above mentioned types of sacrifice, but can be attained only by the mercy of Lord and his bona fide devotees. So therefore, Krishna consciousness is transcendental. So a very good point that Prabhupada is pointing here, that the Krishna consciousness cannot be achieved through these different kinds of sacrifices that we spoke about. It can only be attained by the mercy of the Supreme Lord himself and his bona fide devotees. (429) Apane juhati pranam prane panam tata pare pranapana gati rudva pranayama parayana aparate niyatyaharaha pranan praneshu juhati. Here Krishna is again talking about the sacrifice done in pranayama. So translation, still others who are inclined to the process of breath, restrained to remain in trance, practice by offering the movements of outgoing breath into incoming and incoming breath into outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. So here it's a very technical verse that Krishna is mentioning, that one is offering the breathing system into this sacrifice, and also he mentions about the eating process. Now, in our body, there are different kinds of airs. He says about apane juhati. There is a air that is going downward. Apane, apavayu, and there is a the pranam, the air which acts upwards. There is a apana and prana. So the apana is the air that is going out, going down. Prana is the air that is going up. So these are the different airs in our body. And now there is a breathing technique. So there is a breathing technique to merge, reverse the direction of this prana. The apana is going downward, prana is going upward. But through these breathing techniques, one has to reverse this airs and come into transcendental trance and control himself. So that is the sacrifice that is mentioned here. So again, the breathing techniques is also mentioned. It is mentioned the purvaka. Purvaka is inhalation, the extreme inhalation, the extended inhalation. When you inhale like that, that is called puraka. And there is rechaka, is the exhale, the prolonged exhalation, that is called rechaka. When you exhale, that is rechaka. And kumbhaka is when you inhale and stop, or when you exhale and stop, that is kumbhaka. So these are different breathing techniques. Through these techniques, one can reverse the airs in our body, and once when you do that, you can you can stop all the breathing, or can remain in trance for many years. and that's how they perform this sacrifice. So this is the last sacrifice that Krishna talks here. So I think it is 8:30 now. I think I will stop here. So what we have discussed in this today is we discussed the principle of the sacrifice, Brahma Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. This was talk about the principle of the sacrifice. One has to, staying in this material world, one has to use these material elements and use these material elements for the satisfaction of Krishna, and can convert these material elements into Brahman, or make into spiritual. And one can do this by different kinds of activities or different kinds of sacrifices. So we have seen, sacrifices done by worshippers of demigods, and then the Gnani yogis who offer their identity himself into merging into the Brahman. Then we talked about the sacrifices done by Brahmacharis and the householders. Then we spoke about the sacrifices done by the Dhyana yogis, and then all the different kinds of, Krishna talks about different kinds of sacrifices, and then finally he talks about the Pranayama sacrifice. So all these different kinds of sacrifices, the main goal, the ultimate goal, is to achieve Krishna consciousness. So, if you see Srila Prabhupada's purport, in every purport he is mentioning about Krishna consciousness. The ultimate goal is the Krishna consciousness, and which Krishna also talks about, Sarva Dharman Parityajya at the end, in the last chapter. Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham tam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshashami Mahasuchava. He said, abandon all the religious activities, just surrender unto me. In the end, he tells that the Krishna consciousness is the ultimate goal. But Srila Prabhupada, reinforces the same point again and again for our benefit. In every verse, in every purport, he mentions that. So, so one can, the ultimate, the yajna that is mentioned in this Kali Yuga is Sankirtana yajna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva Nasteva Gatiranyatha. Chanting the holy name is the only, prescribed yajna that is mentioned in this Kali Yuga. So with that, I will end my presentation here. Thank you for all joining today. And if there are any questions or comments, we can open up now. Yeah, sorry if there was some delay due to some technical reasons today. We had some delay in starting the program, and then there was some technical difficulties also, in the middle. We sincerely apologize for that. Sincere apologies for the inconvenience for today's presentation. And so we will have again program. Our next program will be Saturday morning program starting at 6:15 with japa session, and it goes all the way till 11 o'clock. And then we have a Ramnavami that we will be celebrating in the temple in the morning, starting at 4:30 a.m. And then there will be some bhajan and kirtan till 9 o'clock, and then we will start again at 3 p.m. To 6 p.m. So please join us back again for our weekend programs. So if there are no comments or questions, we can end at this point. Vancha kalpadrubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnava Namo Namaha.
Gopal Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Ashtray Madhav Prabhu, thank you.